So, hello everyone. I'm sorry. Very good morning. So, today we have with us Vineeth Lohidakshan sir, who is All India rank 169 in his first attempt. See, he has given 3 attempts. First attempt in 23, he got 169 rank. He again tried for IAS. He attempted in 24, he got 211 rank. This year also he has given mains again, and I feel strongly that he'll be clearing this year as well with very good rank. See, here it's not to boast about what has been achieved, but the most important thing is that what he has focused upon. So he has graduated from medicine, and being a doctor, he had very less time for his first attempt as well. But how could he manage all that time, and how he managed that multiple things or multiple pressures that he had on him at that point of time, or even now. So the temperament and balancing anxiety and fear, how to overcome it, especially at this stage, because you're very much confused how to deal with prelims and how to balance your prelims and mains. So he's going to handle all your questions and give you all the insights that you need, and he's going to give you the most practical way. See, if I have to say, I used to learn certain things from him. After getting this year result, I was little disappointed that he could not upgrade his service. And I felt like, how should I interact with them, or how should I talk to him? What should I talk to him? But when I messaged, the reply that I got, he was so cool that he was very much detached from the result. So most of the time we tell that you should be detached. That's not possible. I am feeling grief because of not upgradation, but the way you look at the result is very different. So I think he will be the best person, and I can call him Mr. Cool from the topper's point of view. Okay, so he'll take up the session. Vinit, I welcome you. Yeah, yeah. You can
This
talk.
is on. This is on. Hello, everyone. So, very happy to see all these happy faces, and thank you, sir, for that wonderful intro you had given. So, again, just to reiterate, my name is Vineeth Lohidakshan, and professionally, I'm a doctor. I did my graduation of MBBS from Government Kilpauk Medical College in Chennai. I'm a native of Kerala, Ernakulam, or Cochin, as you might know. And it was during that experience of mine during the COVID waves. I did my house runs or the internship during COVID, and that experience actually made me go in for trying civil service. So I got into the preparation. I mean, all are okay with English, I believe. Okay, fine. So I started my preparation in 2022 August. That was the time I started my preparation, and I had roughly maybe 9 months, 8 to 9 months until my first prelims. That was in May 2023. So I gave that prelims. I qualified. Luckily, I qualified that one, and then I gave the mains in September. Uh, Thankfully, I qualified that one, and I had my interview on the very last day of the entire interview set. That was on April 8th of 2024, and within 1 week, by the time I got back to my home, I had my results. So it was like 169th rank, and my preference was IRS, which was second preference. I didn't opt for IPS. So I was allotted into IRS. And second attempt, again, I had 1 more week for my next prelims, almost 10 days for my next prelims. I gave that one. Thankfully, again, I qualified that cycle, entire cycle. I ended up with a rank of 211. Again, the same kind of services. So I didn't opt for a service change. Hence, I carried on with IRS. Again, the next set of prelims came in 1 week. Uh, Again, I gave that. They qualified that. I've given the mains this year. That happened in August. and now I am about to join training. It's just like in now 2 weeks time I should be getting back to my academy and I should be resuming my training. So that's my stint with UPSC, or my relationship with UPSC has been all about. My optional subject is, again, as mentioned, it is anthropology, because I wanted to try out something new rather than my medical field, something which is uh, easier to comprehend, something which is easier to revise, and all this part. So that's why I went on with anthropology, and that's I had first attempt I had a 281 score that helped me to get into the service. And so the next two attempts also, that's with this year I have to check about how it has gone. I hope I like all of you might be anthropology itself, right? Is there anyone who's not into anthropology option? Okay, fine, all good. So this session I would be detailing, focusing much more on prelims part. Is there anyone who have written mains already? No one. Is there any, like, have you given prelims already? All of you have given. Is there anyone first attempters? Okay. Rest of you will given at least one prelims. Acha, fine. So my focus areas would be how UPSC thinks about the prelims part, and the question solving mindset, how to approach prelims, the revision strategy, or how to make notes for your various topics. So this would be the strategy that I'd be dealing about. So when you come about UPSC exam, you shouldn't be taking up a different strategy. You should be having an integrated approach in initial phases. That means up to your this November or December, you should be following an integrated strategy. That is covering up both your GS for mains as well as your optional part. So you should be focusing on that, and you should be focusing on your mains focus notes. So you know how to make the mains focus notes. Thanks. So your mains notes, it should be in the format of a very crisp answer. For example, the answer, how the parts of an answer would be for a mains. What are the parts of an answer? GS answer. The three parts: intro, body, conclusion. You are aware of that. Okay. And so when you're making a mains note, how it should be that it should have different dimensions. So how it is, starting with intro. Intro should be of two types. That is, one should be your definition based intro. You take a sub topic, maybe it can be 5G or it can be artificial seeding or something like that, any topic. So one should be a definition based intro, and other should be something related to a recent context or statistics based intro, because you are preparing yourself for any kind of question that is being asked. So one question would be, what do you mean by this particular thing, or what define this particular thing? So that requires specific definition. Other question would be something related to that implications or anything, for which you can aptly give the recent context or any statistics to start with. So you're preparing yourself for all the kind of questions. So this two basic intros would do your part for starting element. Now coming to your body, body is based on different pillars. So what are these pillars? So pillars is, first of all, is the positives or benefits of that topic. Again, you take the 5G technology. So 5G technology would be having few benefits, or like the positive parts. So that makes your first. Okay. So that makes your first component of your body. The second part would be your negatives or issues. What you call to be the negatives or issues of that particular topic. The third part would be impact of that particular topic. I mean 5G technology. How 5G technology have impacted Indian economy. So that prepare on impact part. The fourth part would be, if that particular technology is of so much use and relevance, then we should have adopted it in full sense. But that adoption hasn't happened. That is because there have been some issues or challenges that is pertaining to that particular topic. So what are the challenges associated with that particular issue? Again, what is the exam that we all are preparing for? Civil service. We are all aspiring to be a civil servant. Do any civil servants stop at challenges? No. Civil servants are the people who find solutions for the challenges, right? So, part, not sure. So, next part should be the solutions or the way forward. Okay, for that sake, also keep in mind in any question for your mains, never ever stop at challenges for this same reason. Sometimes your space might be over by the time you address challenges. So, in that case, make your conclusion your way forward. Okay, so that next pillar is negatives impact the challenges, and you have your solutions. And also, finally, the conclusion. So, conclusion shouldn't be mere any normal conclusions like this would help for Vikasit Bharat or anything, because this is outdated. You should have something a hit on, a punching on conclusions. For example, if you are having a question on civil society organizations, like say that Amartya Sen has commented that civil society organizations are the oxygen of democracy. So that elevates your answer. Or if you have any question on women empowerment, go in for any quotation by any famous leaders. Or if like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has told, when women moves forward, their family moves forward, the village moves forward, and effectively the country moves forward. So these kind of hit on high impact conclusions must also be worked upon, because mains is all about your mechanical memory and it's not about your organic memory. You ought to have all these points ready made at your fingertips rather than your brain processing it. How much time you have for a 10 marker in mains? 7 minutes. And your 15 marker? It's 10 minutes ideally, and but you will overshoot in few questions. So we can keep it as 11 minutes. So that's the time. So by that time, you have to read a question, you have to decipher it, you have to deconstruct it, you have to structure it, you have to write it. So only if you have ready-made points like this, you can punch in your specific points and make your answer more worthy. And another point, when you're writing these challenges or anything, don't write the normal uh, generic points in your notes. Only write the specific points in your notes. So generic points, the like meaning by generic points is that for any aspect, you can write in lack of awareness, bureaucratic apathy, red tapeism, lack of technology integration. These are like universal things that you can apply for any of the questions. Don't write these points in your note and make it a bulky note. Only write that specific points, because, for example, you are writing a 5 specific challenges. You are revising it multiple times, and for final exam, you would be in that very minute time scale. You'd be recollecting only 2. Okay, so write those 2 points as your first and the second point, and then fill the remaining 3 points with your generic points. At that point, you can write your generic points, but don't make your note bulky with those kind of generic points. Okay, so this is the basic structure of a mains note that you should be having. So ideally, this mains note should be within fitting a 1 pager. It shouldn't exceed that, because if you're exceeding that means your concise or crisp part is not getting addressed. Okay, so this is a mind about this. I was talking about the integrated preparation. So that part requires this. And now, in coming to the prelims preparation, you ought to know first of all what UPSC is requiring or demanding from prelims perspective. So, what are our guidelines or the lighthouses to aid us in UPSC regarding that? What are 2 elements that help us to know what UPSC demands? PYQ and syllabus. These are the 2 elements that UPSC gives for any stage, be it prelims, be it mains, be it interview. Interview also you would have your transcripts. So once you get and like familiarize with that, one particular board would be asking 70% of the repeat questions to a great extent. So everywhere this is very much applicable. Now coming to the prelims part, when you're thorough with the PYQs, you would know where UPSC is much and more interested in. And each subject, if we look up, there is a specific repetition of themes and points that are coming into. So into themes, I will come later part. First of all, I will start with how to plan your week, or what do you mean by a test series, or how to do a test series. So when you say that you are doing a test series or you are doing a test, what does that entire process mean? You are doing a test. So what would that comprise of? Sorry, application of knowledge, then revising. Okay, so uh, let's see. So when you say about test series or doing a test, it is not merely doing those questions. It is a process that starts from one, like if you're going for a 1 week, from a Monday to not just that Sunday of week, but onto the next Sunday. How it is planned is like, you're starting from Monday, okay? So you say you are having a modern history sectional test on that Sunday. You're starting your preparation from Monday. So first of all, you want to know how UPSC is asking questions, or where are the areas, or what are the important themes of that particular topic. So first day, you would be analyzing where are the questions being asked, PYQ areas, all these things would be done on the first day, Monday. Okay, you are familiarizing what to study, the sources to study, the notes to study, all these things would be made clear that you are identifying. It's like that you are going on a trip and you are trying out the feasible options. Should I take air travel? Should I take rail travel? Should I take a road travel? And you are setting up your road for that. Okay. And once you are aware of the road, now you are starting your travel. Fine. So from Monday after, once you are thorough with that, you are starting your preparation. You are taking up the core knowledge, studying part, the notes or the subjects, everything you are taking up. The books you are taking up, you are studying. So your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and to Friday, you will be doing the same thing. Day after day, you would be doing the same thing. You're increasing your static knowledge base, the content base for doing questions. And Friday, what you would be doing is that you have to now experiment whether the knowledge that you have accumulated till now is working in the UPSC sphere itself. Okay, so that time, so Friday, what you would be doing? You would be doing all the PYQs. Until then, is it working or not? So PYQs, the one part is that you might have already seen, because you all have given already one attempt, you would be familiar. Even if you don't know the content, you would be knowing the answer. Which option comes up rightly for that. So rightly, that doesn't make any difference to that. So you need to know whether this accumulated knowledge is working in a different sphere or different questions. So Saturday, what you would be doing is that you would be trying out questions in a new set of paper, like maybe some academies or something, or like the Telegram channel. So anyway, you would be getting questions. So these questions you would be trying out. Okay. And Sunday is the day that you're already the test is scheduled. You would be having any particular test that you would be following. So that test would be on Sunday. So before that, now you know where UPSC asks, you know the core theory required for solving of questions. Friday, you have done with your UPSC itself. You have seen how your knowledge is getting converted to marks in UPSC. You have experimented the same knowledge in a new set of paper. You have worked it out. So you have practiced, you are ready for the battle. And Sunday, you're going for the battle. So on the battle on Sunday, what you're doing is that you're not just applying your knowledge, you're not just applying your all the stuff you have taken up all the week, but you're also acclimatizing yourself to the situation of a test. How you're acclimatizing, because there will be varied conditions on a test day. Sometimes you might be traveling, I mean, the real prelims day, you might be traveling, sometimes you might not get your vehicle on time, you might have some spat in between on the way with some any other traveler, anything, you might have a headache on that day. So different scenarios can happen to you on that day, but whatever be the scenario, you should be in a mindset to handle that and keep that aside and focus fully on the prelims paper. Similarly, on the day of your exams itself, the person sitting next to you might be your mentor, might be your faculty, or might be a topper who might be aiming for his upgrade of service. So all these scenarios can occur. So you have to be accustomed with all these kind of scenarios and pressures of that real time or the real day of examination, so that these external factors doesn't bother you anymore. You would be fully focused on the paper. Also, you should be aware of the number of rounds, the timing of rounds to be done. I mean, for example, if you're doing 3 rounds, so you're planning for a first round of 15 to 20 minutes. That means you're going through the 100 questions within 15 to 20 minutes. So by that time, you would be able to go to the level of paper. The second round would be in like 60 minutes. That means 1 hour. And the third round would be in about 30 to 40 minutes. So this clear-cut marking requires your specific practice on the same division of rounds. So this should be practiced in the real exam hall. Similarly, the carelessness. Sometimes you might be marking A in your question paper, you would be correctly bubbling B in your OMR sheet. The question might ask which of the options are incorrect. You would correctly mark the correct options. So all these kind of scenarios would happen on your day of exam. This is something along with your knowledge which you have to work about on Sunday. Okay, sure. Now you have finished up one battle. Is the thing over? No, because next is what happens, the most crucial phase, that is the analysis or introspection part. You are done with the test, then you might have the test discussion for that test, might be doing with the test itself. So you attend that test discussion, you come to know how various questions ought to be taught, how to have handle various questions even without knowledge. Few questions might be like, you should have left that, too much of content oriented question, that it should was better left rather than getting a negative for that questions. So these kind of careful introspection should be brought about after the test, and the test key also try to finish it within that Sunday itself, because each question involves some or the other thought process of yours. That thought process you would be remembering only that particular day. After each day passes, you'd forget that thought process. You will just imbibe just that content. That is not where the correction is required. Your correction is required for your thought process. That should happen on the very same day to focus upon. So also ensure that you are covering up your key and analysis part on the same day of that Sunday test itself. And again, it is not over here. From Monday onwards, you would be covering up the next sectional test. And here, you would have noticed few mistakes that you did in your previous test, in the Sunday test. Like what I mentioned, you read the question asked for which of the following are incorrect, you marked correct. You marked A in your question paper, you marked B in your OMR sheet. So these are careless mistakes. So these kind of mistakes on your next Sunday, what you would be doing? You would be more aware. Whenever you are like reading the question itself, you will bubble up, is it incorrect or correct? You would specifically check. Next time when you're marking from the question paper to your OMR sheet, before bubbling it, keeping your pen itself, you would ensure, okay, I have marked there also A, here also I am keeping it over A itself. So thereby you're eliminating the number of mistakes that you have created. And the main important point you have to focus here is that prelims is not a test with a person who is sitting next to you. Rather, prelims is a test between you today and you the previous day. On this Sunday, you might have made 50 correct and 30 wrong. And on this following the next week, if you have made 51 correct and 29 wrong, you have improved. It is this minor improvement that will take you across the cutoff line. So focus on this thing rather than, don't focus, okay, rank 1 has scored like 200 marks. Oh my god, I'm not anywhere near that. I'm already out of race. No, this is not the thing that how it works. It is only this point, that comparison between you on this day and the previous day, that works. So if at least you are able to reduce one negative through like this point, you would be able to improve in that way. This is the way you have, this is what we call as a process of a test series. It's this complex, starting from this Monday until the next Sunday, not the upcoming Sunday, but the next Sunday, your one test cycle gets over. Repeat this week after week, week after week, week after week until the day of your prelims. You would be in a state to clear it off. Okay, fine. This is about the test series part. Now, coming to uh, the sources or like basic sources that you have to think about, especially after the telegram era. That is like very much uh, ocean of resources that you come across, and you would be going behind this test series, A test series, B test series, C test series. Never ever do that. This is good, and this suggestion also you would be hearing from everyone. Don't run behind sources and all this thing. So what ideally you would require is one holistic test series, one test series, follow one test series like in letter and spirit. Each test after that. Few tests, a few subjects you might be feeling very much underconfident and underprepared. For example, maybe economics. You feel that the conceptual questions you are not able to get it clear or correct. For those questions, so only for those topics, go in for few of the additional tests as required. That can be in between your free weeks or in between middle of the weeks. You can place those tests, and you need not take that test at 2 hours as such. Break it, maybe like 15 questions a day, whichever subject you are feeling as difficult, do it. That break the questions, take a entire test, break the questions, 15 questions or 20 questions a day, do it on a daily basis, so that you need not spend your extra time for revision, whichever subject you are finding it difficult. Okay, and also again with that, the sources is a very standard sources you might be following for polity, Lakshmikant, history, I mean like modern history, minimum spectrum, but again be aware of spectrum, because the input output ratio is comparatively lesser for spectrum. I mean not spectrum in as such for modern history as such. So focus on the core areas, core themes. Where is one theme that is recurrently asked in uh, modern India? Sorry, Gandhian is okay, but like even you, if you notice from 2017 to 2024, modern there has been just kind of 2 or 3 questions per year. There's one theme that has been recurrently asked. Yeah, it is the legislations. One is the legislations. Every year, if you focus, there will be a question on a Charter Act, Regulating Act, or the 1935, 1919 Act. So one act question is definitely asked. Other question, if you like look about, it is a personality question. So if you this time it was also the personality Kichliu and C.R. Das, that question was asked. So last year it was the archaeologist question was asked. So personality question is the yet another theme. So these two questions are the one that is repeated every year in modern. So obviously when you're coming to the modern part, you can focus on these themes and focus much about around these areas rather than consuming spectrum as a whole. Otherwise, it will kill your time to a great extent. Okay, so modern is again spectrum. You can refer to that. And economics, any standard book that you have read for basic economics. Maybe it might be Vivek Singh, it might be Nathan Singhania, might be anything. So anything would do. So standard books are this. I'm not dealing into the sources of that. And for NCRTs, which one would you? Which are the must-read NCRTs? Geography 11th and 12th, you should be thorough with NCRTs line by line, because they are asking the questions also directly from these questions or NCRTs. Even if you don't know the concept for an geography question, if you're thorough with NCRT itself, you can answer it, because dicto questions are being asked. So be thorough with your geography NCRTs. Then ancient, which book would you read? Okay, R. Sharma and Satish Chandra. For ancient medieval, at least you cover that. Then environment, what would you read? Okay, that is a standard book. I would like standard books you can read as, because every one of you might have covered different standard books. Some might have read Shankar's, So like whichever you're covered for your basic reading, go on with that. I wouldn't like to contradict with that. But NCRTs. So I just cover the NCRTs that is very much required. Class 11 economy. You can go that, but just consider yourself. Input output ratio is very less in that book. That's a problematic part. It's very complex thing to be deciphered or like utilized as such for your UPSC prelims. So if you have read it sometime, it would be more than sufficient, and just focus on solving questions for economics. Don't merely read because there is much yield from that book. Okay. Do you read ecology chapters for NCRT class 12, last 4 chapters? You should be covering those parts because there are questions come from the 30, I think it is 13 to 16 only, last 4 chapters of class 12 uh, biology. Those chapters cover the ecology and environment part. So do, in addition to your PMO for Shankars, do cover those 4 chapters. And also for polity, do read Constitution at Work. Also read the political theory, a small NCRT book you would be having. Do read that because these philosophy questions kind of is being asked from the political theory NCRTs. So do give a read at least once of that book. It would be boring. That book would be very boring, but it's a very minute book. So just give keep a read of that one. And art and culture, you must definitely read fine arts textbook. Class 11, I guess. There's a fine arts textbook which is to be covered. There are like many of the examples that is being asked. It is also beneficial for your mains. You would get many examples. So do read that book also. And very funny fact or like very interesting fact, how many of you have read class 6 and 7 NCRTs of history? Okay, couple of you have read. If you haven't noticed, the class 6 and 7 NCRTs is a consistent source from which questions have been asked every year from 2011. Beyond, I don't know before that because I haven't gone beyond that. That's why. But from 2011 to the like the class 6 and class 7 NCRTs, consistently they have asked questions. That too from line by line, dicto questions have been asked. Maybe if I could show you if I have that towards the end, I would show you. Note that. This is another file. Ah, yes, sir. I'm just. I thought you might be knowing. So this is the thing. Yeah, yeah. I've shared this one. No, the net is not connected. Okay, so I'll just show you that how it is relevant. I'll by the time. Okay, so this two NCRTs also you are supposed to cover. Okay, Achha, then he covered 6 and 7 NCRTs. Yeah, those are the NCRTs you must be thorough with in addition into the sources. And now coming to the prelim set of notes. Prelim set of notes is something that you must be handling with the factual elements. So which make your factual element very much easier. So one aspect, very factual part is the ancient and medieval. So you should have an inbuilt ancient medieval chronology to be set about to make the questions easier. So chronology, how it should go is that here it should be the time period. Here is the dynasty and rulers. Okay, in this way, I had not planned to show this, but only since you told you don't know this concept, so I just showing this. Okay, so this was one of the question. I guess it was in 2017 or 18. This was asked. Banjaras during the medieval period of Indian history were generally dash. Traders it would be. So this is a class 7 NCRT. There are many kind of traders. These included the Banjaras. Dicto question. Yes. I'll show you the next part. Which one of the following foreign travelers elaborately discussed about the diamonds and diamond mines of India? It is Tavernier is the answer. This was also asked in 2018. It was a very difficult question that, yeah, it was something that couldn't be deciphered very easily. This is again class 7 NCRT textbook. The blue box that we tell about, all these things. In the 17th century, Jean Baptiste Tavernier, a diamond merchant. Later question, the direct question. Come again. Which of the following defines the nature of hundi? That is a bill of exchange. This answer. Where did this question come from? Again, class 7 NCRT. Hundi is a note recording a deposit uh, made by the person. Direct question. I guess, yeah. So these are like few questions that I had made about. I prepared some for the session that was last year or something. So since you told you don't know this part, they're showing. So this is the relevance of that class 6 and 7 NCRTs. So if you haven't covered, very much important, cover it for the upcoming prelims. Okay, fine. So now we are going about the note making. So for ancient and medieval, you must have such a note such that here the time frame would be running about. From the 3rd BC onwards, you would be running about the time, and here you would be writing your important dynasties. So dynasty, the specific ruler of the dynasty, any specific event pertaining to that period. Only that very core specific event. Okay, if it is Chandragupta Maurya with Seleucus Nicator the war, Megasthenes. So all these like very crucial points alone should come at this side. So this is how the note should keep going. So almost in around 15 pages, you would have from your ancient to your medieval covered. The importance of this thing is that every year you would have chronology based questions. Okay, so these questions can be very easily readily solved. Along with that, you would be able to eliminate many options. For ancient and medieval, with this chronology based part, you would be able to eliminate many questions in similar manner. Okay, so definitely have this part for ancient and medieval. Along with that, when coming to modern, keep a tab of every year. Similarly, important years and events happening, especially from the uh, 19th century onwards. 19th century onwards, important events should be marked about. Why is this significant? Because again, the chronology arrange these 4 events in the ascending or like in the order of chronology. Questions have been asked. So in 1800s, you would be having less events, maybe like first war of independence, and towards the end of like 1800s would be more significant events would be coming up. But 1900s or the 20th century, you would be having every year as important. Some or the other thing would be happening. So keep a tab for each of these parts. revise it multiple times. Okay, so that's how you have to deal with these two questions. And then again, coming to modern history, identify the themes. As I told earlier, there is the legislations. So for legislation, quick reference, make it in a tabular form. Prelims notes are very much easier in digital format, that too in tabular form. It can be covered up very much easily. So yet another, just like legislations, another theme is revenue systems. Revenue systems matlab your ijardari, mahalwari, all these things is another theme that is being asked. Can I have the, sir, can I have the pic that I had shared? There's a pic in that previous one, the initial set, not NCRT repeats. The last pic, very last pic. That's one. Yeah. So this was my notes for revenue systems. So if you're reading from your spectrum or anything, you would be having to take minimum of maybe first time reading would take you 1 hour, second time reading might take you 30 minutes, and that final after every revision it might be taking you, the bare minimum would be 15 minutes. Behind like lower than 15 minutes you can't make it anytime, because printed notes take a minimum stipulated time. You can't take it down behind that. So if you want to take it below, you have to make your own notes or you have to keep your written notes. So similarly, so in that basis, I created this note. So that is like the different system that is being implemented, who introduced it, who was the collection entity, what is the time of reassessment, what is the rate of taxation, what the areas that practiced this kind of revenue system. How much time would you take? 1 minute or maybe couple of minutes to revise it? The importance of this couple of minutes is that the number of times you would be revising gets increased, especially in the April and May months, so that these things would get like engraved into your mind, that you started like saying this when you see a question yourselves. Even without options, you would be able to get back your answers involuntarily itself. You would be coming up. So try to make these kind of tabular based notes for various themes that have been appeared. So one is revenue system. Yet another part is the last phase of nationalism. So last phase of nationalism is the from the Wavell plan onwards. So from Linglithgow statement. Linglithgow statement, couple of Linglithgow statements have been coming up in 39 and 40, which they each time they would be changing the provisions. One would be mostly comprising of Indians. Next would be fully comprising of Indians. So like minute changes. So these can also be the theme of questions that is being asked towards, like that can be confusing. So make a specific note for that. Books and journals, that would be yet another factual element that can be asked. Similarly, the revolutionaries, revolutionary movement is the Khadar movement, all these things are a very prominent theme. They give the list of people associated, then how many of these are associated with Khadar movement, or how many of these are associated with Anushilan movement. So these kind of questions can be asked. So these require your multiple revisions again and again of the people associated. So give like one tabular column would be the revolutionary movement, the other would be year of the movement, the next would be personalities associated, last would be area of that movement. So in like way, if you do that in just one glance, you would be able to cover the entire revolutionary part. Similarly, social reformative movements, that is yet another important theme for modern history. So make specific these kind of like a revision tabular columns for modern part along with your chronology. Okay, this is also applicable in your polity. Polity, if you look about, tell me the themes of polity. Sorry. Okay, they're like specific themes. Parliament is a theme. If you look about, if polity 15 questions are there, approximately 6 to 7 questions would be directly from the polity chapter of your Lakshmikant. And Among that, yet another theme is money bill. Each year you look, there would be a question on money bill in some of the, or if each year, if at least if it is missed, alternate year, definitely money bill would be asked. Yet another theme is your emergency. Emergencies would be there. So emergency also you can make a similar uh, tabular form. One is the kind of emergency, the type of majority that is required. Is it just simple majority or the special majority that is required? The time for if that majority is passed, when should Parliament approve it? Then how to disapprove it? Is it like President alone can do it, or is there any other process to disapprove it? So, and what happens to a state legislature? What happens to state executive in emergency? So all these can be summed up in a tabular form. Yet another theme is Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 areas. If you look about every year, Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 areas, questions being asked. Okay, so be thorough with the provisions of Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 areas. Yet another theme is constitutional and non-constitutional bodies. So similarly, you can make tabular column for constitutional and non-constitutional bodies. The body who is getting appointed, is there a panel of people selecting a selection committee, like maybe prime minister, leader of opposition, and union minister or home minister? So like, is there any collegium that is functioning? So that is yet another constitutional and non-constitutional bodies should also be looked about and like made notes up to. And again, yet another theme is your important post that when you mentioned the president, governor. So when you're studying, you should be studying it parallelly. When you're studying president, study governor. When you're studying parliament, study state legislature. So complementary topics should be clubbed about and study together. So that's what the polity notes part. And again, coming to, I just missed few themes of this part, modern, I mean like history part. So there are themes like Vijayanagara. Vijayanagara is a prominent theme. So the theme's importance is that if you know the theme, even if you don't know the answer or like the question's answer, if you know the theme, you would be able to pick the answer. Since Vijayanagara is a theme, if you're seeing that Devaraya or something like that, very high probability that would be the answer. Similarly, yet another theme is the Akbar. Akbar, whenever the Mughal emperor question have come, answers have come as Akbar. I'm not saying you to go and mark next Akbar. I'm saying the importance of relevance of themes. All these things, what I'm saying is something that I have found from the analysis of PYQs. Why I'm saying this is that you should go next. Now, when you're starting your prelims preparation season, you should analyze whatever I told have been working or not. If you're convinced this is working, then you should implement in your prelims. Okay, don't go and mark, that's what, don't go and mark Vijayanagara just because I told Vijayanagara. Don't go and mark Akbar because I'm telling you Akbar. No, that is not the point I'm saying. You should mark it according to question. I'm only saying that whenever questions have come, 90% of the times it has come as the answer. The 10% is because I'm keeping as my the interim bail or the anticipatory bail that I'm keeping up. From all the experience, it is 100%. But next time, if they are asking Vijayanagara something options and the answer is different, when you come and ask me, sir, you told me like this. So I would say, no, I just told you 90%. This is a question from the remaining 10%. So that's why. So this is not making you like aware of the answer. It is making you aware of the themes of how to think about. It is making you how to think and how to analyze papers. So this is another theme. Yeah, these are the prominent themes from like the history part. And then again from international relations, there is the European Union, that is a theme. That every year you can analyze this part also. There has been minimum one question on European Union. So either it would be the question that would be containing European Union, or else it would be the options that would be containing European Union. That's a very prominent theme. Even in 2025 prelims, if you look about, there is this question. You might have done this question since you have given the prelims. The law on nature restoration law. Which of the bodies have passed nature restoration law? Though you don't remember, this was a question in the prelims that you wrote in 2025. So that had the option of European Union as its one of the options, and the answer is European Union. So that's how the themes work. If you're very aware of the themes, few questions can be handled likewise as well. Okay, and then coming for environment, one prominent part is national parks, species, and all these parts. So for environment, try to do mapping. So mapping happens by take a very big printout of a map, political map. I would prefer it to be A3 size, not the A4 size, A3 size, and you do mapping yourself for Ramsar sites, national parks, tiger reserves, uh, and important rivers and tributaries. So these four mapping. So take four map. If you can integrate all, it's okay, but it gets very much congested when you integrate all this in a map. So better is that divide it, take four maps, map it one by one. It makes your species identification, national park identification, and knowledge of various things very much easier. Like a streamlined flow can be brought about. So do that for your. This would help in your geography questions also, because rivers and their tributaries get asked in the geography part as well. So prominent rivers also do with that. Uh, Along with that, keep a tab on international mapping. International mapping is the conventional themes of various uh, surrounding countries of major water bodies or major countries and their surrounding countries. So all these ones, keep a tab on that. Try to use digital notes for that. If there is any important conflict regions that is happening, keep a tab on that places. And conflict regions is yet another theme of UPSC. If you look about, rather than normal regions, UPSC consistently asks conflict regions or weapons or explosives. This is a very big thing. If you look, Russia-Ukraine war was happening, and 2023 the question was country sharing border with Ukraine. Again, the other question was what is peculiar with countries like Chad, Niger. It is that military coup had happened in these places. Similarly, they have asked the refugee camp question in 2021 or 2, I don't remember. But refugee camp, they have asked for 3 years. So this is also related to the conflict questions. Again, this year in 2025, they had asked like three elements, and what does they mean? They were explosives, HMX, and those kind of what are they standing for? That is also coming from this part. So that is a theme of UPSC. So also give relevance to conflict regions across the world, and especially conflict regions in Middle East and Africa. Keep a look where all military coup has happened in Africa just before you go for prelims, and also like the nearby Middle East regions. So when you're looking for conflict regions, also look the prominent cities in that country. If you're studying about Israel, don't just study the surrounding countries of Israel. Look major cities of Israel, because UPSC can go for next layer of questions. UPSC actually very easier part for UPSC is eliminating, rather than selecting you. Eliminating people is very much easier. So try to get that aspect, extra layer of things possible. Yet another theme is there is the commercial bodies of the government. Commercial bodies means like APEDA, MPEDA, like and coffee board, uh, tea board. So these things actually is from the government website itself. If you just search itself, it is from consistent tabs of the website that is getting asked. If you see the coffee board, tea board, APEDA, consistent tabs, these are coming up. So the questions were like, where is the headquarters located, where the overseas uh, office is located. So all these are there in that list itself. So I think it is the ministerial website. You just search it and you will get consistently this part. So that is also a theme. So study those commercial bodies also for the prelims. These are all just bits and pieces that I'm saying, just to provide you the way ahead to analyze PYQs and find the themes and then build on that. Okay, rather than just studying few of the notes that is being said or few of the standard books that is being said. This helps you to analyze the demand of the question, why UPSC is asking, where UPSC is asking, and how you are going to answer it. Okay. So these are few of the themes that is associated. So I will also deal with few questions, how to think questions, few 20-25 questions you might be familiar since you have done. The questions I will just show to you how to think and answer them. Here, this was a question of 2025. You might have got it right, I believe. You know where this question came from? It's a direct PYQ. That is this PYQ which was oh, okay. It was this PYQ that was repeated. This was 2016 question. It was just this one that entirely got repeated in 2025. So direct PYQ repeat do happen. Read this run, right? In India, income from allied agricultural activities like poultry farming and wool rearing in rural areas is exempted from any tax. In India, rural agricultural land is not considered a capital asset under the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961. How do you do this one? The thing is that, do you read the question? All good? You got to contribute something? How to think about or think? Okay. So while you're preparing for UPSC or when you're doing your taxation module of your economic development, like taxation part, there's a part that you study about direct and indirect taxes, and in direct taxes you would be studying about income tax. Is there something that is exempted from income tax in India? Agriculture is exempted from income tax in India. Okay. And for in general, statement 1 and 2 kind of questions, if you know that one statement is wrong, you directly have the answer. There isn't a option which states both statements to be wrong. It's like 1 and 2 are right, 2 is the right explanation. The second option is 1 and 2 are right, 2 is not the right explanation. C is 1 is right, 2 is wrong. D is 2 is right, 1 is wrong. So there is no options like both are wrong. So you are safe if you get one thing to be wrong. That is the basic approach for statement questions. And how you know whether the second statement is an explanation of the first statement or not? Add a because. Read the first statement, add a because, read the second statement. If that is convincing you, then the both statements are explanation are complementary. If it isn't convincing you, then that doesn't add up to be the explanation. Okay. So this part in income in India, income from allied agricultural activities like poultry farming and wool rearing in rural areas is exempted from any tax. If you remember, poultry farming or dairy or wool or anything is a field which involves MNCs. all the, if you know Venki's and all these kind of their major poultry farming groups. So all these people actually involved, MNCs are getting involved, huge investment or multi stakeholders are getting involved in uh, poultry and other farming. Whenever huge involvement is happening, what happens over there? Laundering happens over there. Okay, like when huge players come in and they invest their money, what happens? Laundering happens. Why agriculture? That is not major issue. What is the stake of what 80 to 80%, 85% of farmers are small and marginal farmers. That is the reason why agriculture is kept out of taxation or income tax. But while coming to poultry or like bull rearing or dairy or anything like that, there is huge investment like or the cooperatives or the MNCs that is coming up into the field, which involves their investment, which can lead to laundering. So that is the reason if you give it exemption from income tax, huge pumping of all other revenue can happen to these fields, and it can be like stripped off of taxation. So it becomes a major laundering avenue. So exempted from any income tax, any tax becomes an extreme statement. Or in other way, you can think about is that income tax, I mean like agriculture is exempted from income tax, but agriculture is having state taxes. Agriculture is, if required, any state can tax in agriculture. Likewise, West Bengal is having an agriculture tax. Uh, Tamil Nadu is having an agriculture tax. Kerala had an agriculture tax, which it suspended in 2022, which could have been the basis. We don't know what is the basis, but it is one of the basis. So state taxes can at least apply. So this is exempted from any tax becomes an extreme statement. If the government decides to, any element can be brought under taxation at any point or any minute taxation. So with that perception, this statement can be taken as an extreme statement as well. So either of these, any two thoughts you have to develop. If you are having, you would be getting this statement to be wrong one. That itself would take you to the answer. Otherwise, also you are reading this second statement. In India, rural agricultural land is not considered a capital asset under the provisions of Income Tax Act. So, what is the basis of direct taxation? You're taxing the avenue or the source of, that is why TDS is happening. What is TDS? Source. That source is getting taxed. So here what is they saying? The agricultural land, which is the source of agricultural income, is getting exempted. So that relates means why agriculture is exempted from taxation. So this obviously becomes right. So you can eliminate this provision as well from the answer part. So this is how you have to develop thinking. This question requires bit of your content backing also that you would get once you're studying for prelims. Just analyze that this is the thinking that you have to develop. Okay. Now this both are done. Okay. Tell me this question. Answer following statements. This is also this previous question only. India accounts for a very large portion of all the equity option contracts traded globally, thus exhibiting a great boom. India's stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past, even overtaking Hong Kong's at some point of time. There is no regulatory body either to warn the small investors about the risk of options trading or to act or on unregistered financial advisors in this regard. Option 3 is incorrect. Sorry. Any other opinions? How about this one? Has grown rapidly, great boom, extreme words. Okay, no, I was just kidding. So this is the thought process that you have. Don't get like blown away with the extreme words. Great boom, rapidly. No, that is not a thing. Come to a third statement. This is effectively a kind of anti-government statement. UPSC being the constitutional body never comes about criticizing government or criticizing the country or anti-national stance or anything like that wouldn't be promoted by UPSC. So what does the statement say? There is no regulatory body in India. Like India is like getting like exposed like anything. It is letting its own investors exposed to all risk. Let their money go away. We don't have any concern. So that is the kind of point that this point is conveying about. Okay, and UPSC never gives such statements. This is a thought process you need to have. Factual part, which is this body? SEBI is the body. So you should be knowing that SEBI. There's a factual part. Even if you don't know the factual part, know that India is a very well regulated country. Each and every field there is some or the other regulation that is being placed in the country. So that unregulated parts never happen in India. And that too, say again, small investors, risk of options. So it's just like letting it a free deal. So never ever that will be promoted. So it's a very easy option to eliminate. So have this element, anti-national, anti-government or stance wouldn't be given by UPSC or taken as correct by UPSC. Okay, that is there. The mineral security MSP question. India joined MSP last year. This was a question. Again, it's like easy pickings. This is factually you can get it right, or if you don't know also, it is fine. In 2023, Parliament passed or not, you know or not, don't worry, let it rest. India is a resource-rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that it has identified. If India is a resource-rich country in all the 30 minerals, I mean all the 30 critical minerals, why should they first of all designate it as critical minerals? Why is that criticality came about? It is having a huge relevance on nation's security and economic aspect, and the country is not fully sufficient on that. That has that much backing. If a particular mineral is so much abundant, why should we make it to be critical? It can be a normal mineral, right? So the very first aspect that it is critical itself means country is not sufficient in that aspect. So in the statement itself, the facts are conflicting. You're getting the thought point, the thought process. First of all, if that is a critical mineral, we need, if it is that is a abundant mineral, we need not classify it to be critical, right? So these kind of conflicting statements itself makes it incorrect part. If you know the incorrect part directly, even without knowing the other options, you have the answer. Okay. So read in that way. This one. UPSC goes on with generic statements. So generic statements would always be right. In if Rashtriya Gogul Mission, it is important for upliftment of rural poor as majority of low producing indigenous animals are with small and marginal farmers, landless farmers. You don't have very generic statement. You don't have anything to conflict. You can't say like no poor indigenous animals would be with large farmers. Nothing like that. You could that they would have the imported varieties or breeds. There is nothing to contradict or these statements. Again, statement one. It was initiated to promote indigenous cattle and buffalo rearing, conservation in scientific and holistic manner. Very generic statement, which are both complementary. So these kind of few questions, generic statements would be made by UPSC. So these are like easy pickings that you shouldn't miss out, or you should don't complicate by overthinking. Will it be with rich and affluent farmers? Will it be not for cattle and buffalo? Will it be for any goat or any other thing? Will it be for poultry? Don't overthink like this and make it complicated. Generic statements would be so statement framing is something you have to again focus on UPSC prelims. Few statements that examiner language never ever changes in UPSC exam. If you look at 2000 question, like 2000 years, that 2001, 2002 questions. You look the 2010, 11, 12 questions. You look the 2020, 2021, 22 questions. You look the 25 questions. The examiner language, the type of questions might have changed. Pair questions came about. Three statement questions have come about now last year. So these kind of type of question changes, but never ever the statement framing changes. Okay. So this is one kind of generic statement framing. Other statement framing is extreme statement framing. Extreme statement framing is all and none. Like all fishes are poisonous, all fishes are not edible, all fishes are edible, or none of the thermal power plants is privately owned. None of the drones, this year the question was, none of the drones can vertically climb. None of the questions can, like these kind of none and all kind of questions, which would in most of the scenarios would be false. At least one exemption can occur to that. So that most of the scenarios it would be a negative statement, or like the wrong statement would be given. And there is also in the other statement that is provided, some mushrooms are edible, some fishes are edible, some mushrooms are colored, some mushrooms are poisonous. So this is the statement that UPSC is making to make you get correct answers. Some out of the entire world, some of the mushrooms can be edible, some of the mushrooms can be poisonous. Definitely that even if you don't know anything, it can exist like that. So these kind of sentence framing also be thorough with in the UPSC prelims. Then coming to the emerging in science and tech, emerging technologies yet another theme for the questions. So like time is okay, right? Like okay. So emerging technology, the thing is that always remember, why is emerging technology coming up? As an improvement to the existing technology. So always it should be having positives, more of positives than the previous part. So you read the questions, you read the options. If it sounds to be positive, a good oriented option, which you're not aware of, you might not be aware whether that use exists or not. But if that sentence framing is positive, consider that to be correct statement, because you might not be aware of all the uses of a particular technology. In some part of the world, some corner of the world, this technology might have been used for that particular purpose. So that provisions you should always keep, and it is safer side to take it to be a correct one. Okay. So this one, direct air capture, emerging technology. It can be used as a way of carbon sequestration in some part of the world. If it has been used, the sentence become right, at least in one place. It can be a valuable approach for plastic production and in food processing. Same thing, in any part, in any small shop, at least they have used this technology for that, it becomes right. In aviation, it can be a source of carbon for combining with hydrogen to create synthetic low carbon fuel. You don't know in aviation it has been used or not, but what is the tone of the statement? It's a positive one, because in aviation it has been combining with hydrogen and the output is a low carbon fuel. Low carbon fuel at any day is a positive thing. With the current emerging technology, you are looking for carbon neutral policies, or like net zero emissions. So we are reducing the carbon source. So this goes on with that goal. So emerging technology, recent goal, it is getting like satisfied. Positive ended statement, everything is positive, nothing to contradict. Obviously that would be a safer to take. See, I'm not saying this would be correct answer. Safer to take correct answer. You do the same thing, you do for 5 questions, 5 unknown questions, you would get it right. The answer would be right for 3 or 4 questions minimum. So at the end of the day, you would go home with net gain. You might get 2 negative, maybe 3 might be wrong, 3 might be correct, 2 might be wrong. But at the end of the day, you would be going home with net positive. Out of nowhere, you would go with net positive. That is how you are increasing your chances in prelims. You have to dare to take the risk. This is how you take calculated, goal oriented risk. Okay. That is it. Yeah. This question. If I'm blocking, I will just move it. Which of the following launched the nature solutions for finance hub for Asia and Pacific? Are you aware? Hmm? Anyway, Asia. They're asking for Asia, so oh, okay. You are saying like you're coming to 50-50. Okay, uh, and you pick one among them. That is an approach. But for this question, I'm not going for that. I want the 10% approach. I want the correct answer for this. It's not a 50-50 question for me. This is a full-on hit-on question for me. How would that you can get it? You wouldn't like from sorry. Does someone want to contribute? Okay. This is not a question that you get from this question alone. This is a question that you have to source from uh, your PYQs. How does that mean is that banks is a theme of UPSC. If you look about New Development Bank was a question in 2016. Three statements, which of the following statements about New Development Bank is right? Three questions were there. Similarly, Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank was a question in 2021, I guess. The question was like this: India is a member of which of the following bodies? In that, one option was AIIB. Similarly, IBRD was an option in one of the questions in PYQs. I am not remembering the question. Asian Development Bank as such has been asked, but banks is a very prominent thing. So you have to be thorough with the bank. What is the criteria for the membership? Where is the headquarters of the bank? And is there any important, very important like initiative that India is part of? These are because these are the three statements of New Development Bank in 2016. So that is a theme we prepare along. We prepare for all these things. That is a preparation we require for this. Now remember, so that is the basis of that. Okay, keep that in your mind. Read the question again. Nature Solutions, Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific. All good? Wait, so this is the membership criteria for Asian Development Bank. Membership in the Asian Development Bank is open to members and associate members of United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and Pacific. You see the membership criteria? What's the membership criteria? Asia and Pacific, right? Now again, read the question. Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific. Hitting it. If this is the region for which the initiatives have to be brought about, which is the body, then that most likely it should be. It is the Asian Development Bank. So that's why I told this is not a 50-50 question. This is a sure shot question. This is how it should have been cracked. At that point, that is not a 50-50. This is a sure shot question. Okay. This is how you get prepared from PYQs, anticipate questions, hit on the questions. Yeah. So this was a question that I was talking about. All types of UAEs. UAE is a drone, can do vertical landing. You see, imagine I build a drone myself due to my specificalities of engineering. No, not an engineer. I'm just seeing when saying a scenario. It couldn't vertically land. It just exploded midair. That statement becomes wrong there itself. All types of UAEs can do automated hovering. It couldn't do. I have designed one that is like manually controlled. Becomes wrong. All types of UAs can use battery only as a source of power supply. No, I connected a solar panel on top of that. It is running on solar panel. Become wrong. There itself all these three statements became wrong, answer became none. Like only thing is that these kind of questions I just have to provide a contradicting scenario, just one contradicting scenario, and the entire statement is wrong. So these questions appear every year. Maybe one or two questions would be definitely these kind of questions. Then in added to that would be none questions. Then it would be some questions. So based on this three scenarios itself, you would get 5 to 6 questions in a prelims without even any knowledge. You would get those questions right. Let that page go. Yeah. So again, this question, all three. That is what you have to give about. Why this I picked this question is that with that logic, this question would go wrong. The answer for this question, as said by various keys, is B, only 2. But you have to get that negative. That's okay to get that negative. Because only if you get this negative, you're getting the logic right. That step or the process you are getting it right. Though you would cost it here, but still we don't know because official UPSC key might provide it to be C as well. I mean like all correct as well. So we can say, but you consider this to be B as all institutes are saying. Consider this to be B as well. But with the same logic at other places, you would get other questions right. So at the end of 5 questions, you get 4 right, 1 wrong. That logic is getting consolidated within you. So that's why I want to show that might go wrong like questions like this, but it's absolutely okay to go wrong. Okay, you need not get everything right. You need not get 200 marks. Roughly 90 marks would do your work. Yeah. So this question, is it like visible for you? No? Is there any zoom option? Yeah. There's a question on Majorana, the chip that was done. Yeah, it is Microsoft that came about. So, but if you're against, like if you want to bring about how to solve this question. First question, it is expected that Majorana one chip will enable quantum computing, emergent technology, theme of UPSC. That statement goes well with the theme. Majorana chip has been introduced by Amazon Web Services. What when you consider chip or quantum technology, you just consider chip, normal chip, because they say it to be the chip. Which is the most prominent chip that you would know? If you're using at least laptop, Intel, at least you would know Intel. And when you come to chip producers, if you're aware which is a leading chip producer in the world, Nvidia. Nvidia is the leading chip producer. Maybe you might know, you might not know. That's enough. Let that be away. But you should be aware at least Intel or Taiwan companies, at least you should be aware. Or you should be aware at least of Microsoft or Google. These are the major ones or major players in the market. Only after that, which comes Amazon Web Services comes anyway. Amazon, what you are aware would be the normal e-commerce Amazon, and after that only Amazon Web Services comes. So when a quantum computing chip is coming up means that's a very recent technology, that is a very emergent technology which absolute leaders in the market can bring about. So you have these many leaders in the market which have more probability of bringing this out rather than Amazon Web Services. So this statement is most likely to be wrong because you are having something to challenge. Here, see, it is expected that Majorana one will enable quantum computing. Very like what to say, a probable statement, like with possibility is being kept. It is not an affirmative statement. It is just a very possibility enabling statement. It is expected. So even if it is that doesn't turn out to be quantum computing itself, still that statement holds. It is just saying a probability. It might be able to help. That means only saying It's not saying an affirmative statement. So this is obviously getting correct. Take the third statement. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Very direct statement. You need nothing is there to contradict that. So two statements are obviously right. There isn't any options like that to confuse you. But here, Amazon Web Services is a very open area that you can criticize or challenge. Right? You have all the market players to challenge upon. So that enables the calculated guessing part. You can more probability is that it is not the option. Take the option 1 and 3, you have the answer. Without even the content, you would be able to do the question. Let's now read it. Okay. Yet another theme of UPSC is biology. In biology, immune system. Study with basics of immune system. What are B cells? What are T cells? What are antibodies? What are monoclonal antibodies? What are the characteristics of virus? What are the characteristics of fungi? And what is the characteristic of a cell? These kind of basics you have to be thorough with biology. Okay. So these are like again monoclonal antibodies. Antibodies itself, what they do is that they bind against antigen. So these are like the very basic stuff of biology, that immune functions basic statements are being asked. This same theme will be asked for like every alternate years. So be thorough with this concept, even if you know or not also. This thing, treating viral infections like that of Nipah virus. Now, when I take sessions in Kerala, I ask them, anyone else in the country can make this question wrong. I mean, like, can make it wrong, but never from Kerala. Because every year, just like annual festival, you are having the Nipah virus outbreak. So, never ever you can make it wrong from that place. Again, from you people, even if it is not Nipah virus, you should know monoclonal antibodies from other perspective. You all have lived through COVID pandemic. So that time, there was the various monoclonal antibodies that was brought about, like remdesivir and others, which was a very big news at that time. So any virus, instead of Nipah itself, it can be used against any virus or cancer or anything. So in that perspective, you should be knowing the third statement to be correct. And monoclonal antibodies, clone. What does that clone mean? Creating a copy. Creating, that means a creating. So man-made, clonal, man-made, going complementarily, right? They stimulate immunological function due to their ability to bind to specific antigens. That is a use of any antibodies. The antibodies itself are being produced to bind with antigen and eliminate it. Very generic function. So from the word itself, you would be able to get the answer. You need not require any other knowledge. Just word deconstruction. That is it. Okay. Now, this is like it's almost getting to like two more questions only. So this amount of dust particles in the atmosphere is more in the subtropical and temperate areas than in the equatorial and polar regions, because subtropical and temperate areas have less dry winds. So like geography, if you have studied this is a very lame statement that has been given, because subtropical and temperate regions have very less dry winds. Absolutely, all the prominent dry winds are actually over these places only. So that itself eliminates the aspect. And amount of dust particles in subtropical and temperate regions are more. It is definitely more because of the various polar cells and this thing take it towards there. The frontal theory and also people leaving also contribute. The anthropogenic contribution, everything is more over these regions. So dust is obviously bound to settle over there and find it over there. But dry winds, less dry winds, no, because you find more dry winds over these regions because there is both desert climate as well as the cold dry winds are also present over there in both these regions. So that is that you have to combine both your logic and theory in these kind of questions. Now, next is a very prominent theme that I'm showing about. The theme is insulation, uh, or the albedo effect, or insulation, or reflecting effect. Now, if you see, this is the 2025 question. Without the atmosphere, temperature would be well below freezing point everywhere on the Earth's surface. Heat absorbed and trapped by the atmosphere maintains our planet's average temperature. At atmospheres, gases like carbon dioxide are particularly good at absorbing and trapping radiation. Okay, you know the statement, like read the statements, understood the statements, fine, keep it. This is 2024 question. Okay, the atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by terrestrial radiation, because carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. Understood? Keep it. This is 2023 question. With reference to the Earth's atmosphere, which one of the following statements is correct? The total amount of insulation, roughly 10 times. Infrared rays constitute roughly 2/3 of insulation. Infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. Infrared waves are a part of the visible spectrum of electromagnetic waves of solar radiation. You realize the theme? The same concept, the same theme, back to back, 3 consecutive questions from the same very concept. So that's how, if you similar questions you would see in history as well. Annexation of Goa by Portuguese. Same theme, 2022, 2023, 2024, consecutive questions. Which was the ruler, which was the person who conquered, then a statement based question. So these kind of theme questions always repeats. So that's why you have to be, if you like read a question in one particular year, don't think that that would be again repeated next year. In this manner, it gets just spot on repeated. So with that same concept, you would be able to answer the question. Similarly, 2025, there was a question on isotherm. Same question, like same theme was asked in 2024. So this is the importance of theme and thematic questions. I think these are like, so these are the kind of various, the logic based, the content based, the PYQ based, and the situation based, the framing of question based thinking that you have to develop for your prelims, attempting your prelims paper. And again, coming to, I'll just deal on with the CSAT paper also. I'm not saying much about. Um, okay. So when CSAT is there, how many of you find CSAT to be extremely difficult? Okay, it's fine. Okay, all right. So for CSAT, those who are finding it difficult, concentrate. You shouldn't be concentrating just on one particular part, like not just on quantitative part, and with like totally doing away with comprehension, or the other way also, fully depending on comprehension and doing away with quant part. You shouldn't be doing either of these things. You should be having a middle path in this perspective. So try to have minimum attempt of 45 questions. Keep this as your target. For minimum 45 questions you should be attending. Only if you attend 45 questions, you will be having a pillow of 13 questions to be wrong. When you're doing comprehension questions, you should definitely have the pillow for the wrong questions, because comprehension questions are so tricky. Sometimes you might be even marking the correct statement, but the key would be coming as to be wrong. So these, because the examiner discretion is very high, so you have to have this cushion for wrong questions. So minimum, if you have 45 questions only, you would be having such a cushion. So, and again in quantitative questions, try to focus on number system. Number system is a very basic theme without which any question cannot be framed. Number system is a very basic. Don't go behind or run behind permutation, probability, all these things. Those who even studied it for many years is unable to do those questions on the real exam hall scenario. So just doing it for maybe 2 or 3 months is literally wasting our time. Focus on number system, focus on calendar questions, focus on work and time, focus on like the logical reasoning questions, data sufficiency questions. That is going to be the key player in the time ahead. So focus on these kind of questions and prepare your quantitative part. You would be sufficiently able to do about 20 to 30 questions from that part itself. Then remaining you have 27, 29 questions from comprehension, you would be in a very safe zone. Okay, so plan your preparation in that aspect. And if you are extremely weak, from maybe December mid or from January, try to devote 1 to 1.5 hours daily from your time slot, and preferably the time slot of 2:30 to 4 o'clock or 4:30, the time during which you are like doing the real CSAT paper. Okay, and if you're a person who knows to do questions, but you're facing time constraints, you're unable to expand your doing of questions. For that, I will just suggest you a methodology of tracking of questions, so that like you would be able to track your pace and you would be able to increase the questions. So like so to the students who I have suggested that till now, they have told a positive response on this. They have been able to, over the last two prelims, students have been able to increase their attempts significantly. So this is basically a split of the entire time slot that is available into slots. You are making the entire exam into slots. That is 25 minutes, 4 slots, and 20 minutes, 1 slot. That is the way it goes. So it is like 20:32, I mean 2:30 to 2:55, 2:55 to 3:20, 3:20 to 3:45, 3:45 to 4:10, 4:10 to 4:30. Okay. So what we are doing is basically we are keeping ourselves at the peak of our like alertness. So sometimes you might be doing is that 1/2 an hour you do quant questions, next half an hour you might shift to comprehension questions. So problem with this is that during the quant questions you will be very active, and during the comprehension questions you will try to be lax. You will just relax. That time your intensity goes down. That's where your pace gets affected. So instead of that, we are tracking the each time slot. So our aim is each of the slot we should have 10 questions. We should be able to attend 10 questions. Okay, and we will be prioritizing the quant questions. So that's why I told you should be able to do, like you should be able to know to do the questions, and you are facing the time crunch. That time only this will work. So you're focusing on the first questions, like quant questions, and in like 15 minutes, you have completed some 6 questions. You think you have completed 6 questions. So you're well on time. Then again in 10 minutes, you would be able to cover 4 more questions. Or like maybe you feel that you are not able to cover. Like you reached 6 questions, now you have 10 more minutes for the 10 15 2:55. Then you shift to comprehension questions. In that next 10 minutes, you do the 4 comprehension questions, so that your 10 is reached. Okay. Again, next slot starts 2:55. You again start with the next set of quant questions. This time, you are able to do 8 quant questions in 15 minutes. So it means you are very well on time. So why we are prioritizing quant questions means these are sure short marks. That's why you are prioritizing quant questions. Okay. So in like next in 15 minutes itself, you are doing 8 questions. You are very well on time. So you need not go to comprehension questions. You will continue with quant questions. So that time you do about maybe 11 questions. So your overall coverage has been 21. Next slot, your quant question pace has been very low. You just in 15 minutes you could do just 3 or 4 quant questions, 3 questions. So you're very well below the time. Or 20 minutes you have done just 4 quant questions. Then you would try in the remaining 5 minutes to cope up with the comprehension questions to reach the 10, but you couldn't reach. Maybe you could just do 3 comprehension questions as well. So that is like almost 7 questions. So again 28. So within the time slot you are now 2 questions down. Here you were 1 question up for the time slot. You should have covered 20 questions in 2 slots. You are 21. So you are 1 question up. Here now you have your pace has been down. So you are 2 questions down now instead of 30 questions. So now you will be you are like down of pace. Now you would again increase your pace in your uh, fourth slot. You are doing like maybe next 10 minutes itself you could do maybe like 4 max questions, but you need to cover up more questions also. So next 15 minutes you decided to do comprehension questions. So comprehension questions you are able to do some 11 comprehension questions. So in total you could do 15 questions in this slot. So that means now here you reached almost 43 questions. So almost you are near the 45 target with your one slot pending. So all the questions that you have, like then we few questions, it will take time, but you are sure to get the answer. So all those kind of questions you can place in this slot, so that easily you would reach your 45 to 50 questions target. You get it? Like how I try to. So the intention behind is that you are treating each slot as a new thing. You are not carrying over the other part. So you're always at your most intense phase. You could use that 2 hours very much fruitfully rather than the switching between uh, con- content comprehension in a half an hour schedule. That laxity can be avoided. So just try to implement, provided you should be knowing to do questions. The timing is your crunch means, then you this will apply. Otherwise it would be otherwise you should follow the other criteria that I had told regarding the questions, focusing on the topics. Okay, so this is a part for CSAT. And also for comprehension, try to rework from the options. Okay, that's how you increase the speed for comprehension questions. See, UPSC doesn't source their comprehensions from any uh, fantasy magazines. They source it from very scientific journals. So the questions based on those journals would be having answers also to be scientific answers. Any fantasy or like kind of answers wouldn't be coming from these kind of comprehensions. So you would be able to rework the answers from the options itself. 22, 23 and 24 question papers are extremely good for practicing this reworking. You just read the uh, question once, the question and option once, then just glance or glimpse through the comprehension. So once you do that consistently, you would understand few of the questions. You need not even read the comprehension. Without even that, you would be able to pick the answers. Because same the GS kind of strategies work in CSAT paper as well. Try to implement that by reworking. The 22, 23 and 24 papers are extremely good for that. Okay, so that really works. So that's how you increase the pace of doing papers. This is all regarding the various preparatory parts and nuances of the exam. And now coming uh, to the mindset that is required. This exam is entirely based on mindset, because I have gone through this. As I told, my first attempt I had sat very well, time thoroughly. I have sat with these all these whatever I had told was the thing that I had done or like analyzed all during my first years. I mean first attempt. And second attempt, as I told, my post my result, my interview result, I had barely 10 days. When result come, all these other things, the sound and voice associated with the result and all these things. So keeping that aside and then to prepare for the exam was a difficult part, and you would never have really time to focus on those. So I had about 10 days, and again, now coming to the second attempt result. So as I told, it was like I too had expected, like, okay, might be finishing off the attempt with this thing, but fate had other plans. I had to go again. I decided not to write the exam because the thing was that my one particular paper was drastically reduced. The paper I had in Anthro, first attempt, paper one, I had 155 marks. That paper in the second attempt, I got it to 111, the same paper. It was just one paper that I lost 44 marks, and that's the sole reason my rank went to 211. So maybe if I had my initial marks or somewhere in just 120 or 120 minimum marks itself, I would have been top 100 within IAS rank. So it was a very like kind of period. So that's when I like kind of got detached with the results. So I said, okay, because I had put in my efforts, all kind of efforts in my both attempts I had put in. So I thought, okay, like we should take, just as we decide to start preparing for this exam, it is also important to start quitting from this exam also. So I thought there's nothing much more to provide. But the fact, like the fate was that while taking leave from my academy for my EOL, we give an undertaking that we are taking leave for attending next prelims. So I was legally mandated to give the prelims, which I came to know 1 week before the exam. Then only I know, okay, that I am supposed to give. So that my only time frame was that 1 week. So I had to give in that span. So that's why the 2 attempts that I have qualified has been based on the mindset. Above all the content or anything, it's how you face the questions in the real hall. That's why this detached mindset helps you to hover through all these kind of thinkings. If you have to make a real exam hall, you ought to have a very clear mindset which is detached from the result. If you think like, oh, should I attempt this question? Oh no, if I attempt this question and get this wrong, I will be eliminated. What will I do? 1 year, next quarter, 1 year I will do. What will I tell to the family? All these thoughts coming up in your exam hall is going to take you to that situation itself. Take that apart, take away, just focus on that exam, that paper, you and that question. That should be the sole things that should be present. And you should have the strategy, what I told, which you will be implementing during the Sunday test, the round. The first round, I'll be completing in 15 to 20 minutes. The next round, next round I will be deciding which all. So the first round itself, you are taking this, you would be knowing that toughness or easiness of the paper. If the first round itself, you are that 15 to 20 minutes itself, if you are able to do some 15 question means the paper is on an easier level. If that paper, if you are able to do only somewhere around 8 to 10 question means the paper is a moderate level. If you are able to do less than 5 question means that paper is a very tough paper. And always be flexible, don't be rigid, adapt to the situation. UPSC, as everyone hails, it's an unpredictable commission that comes up with bouncers. Be ready for bouncers. Only because first attempt, 23, when I was like going to attend the paper, but the pair kind of questions was a very big challenge for me. So 22 UPSC had introduced this pair questions. So that PYQ itself, seeing itself, that was like 6 questions of pair questions in 22. So every question that I pair question I attempt, it will be wrong. So I was apprehensive at that time. What would I do if more questions come in 2023? So my like all the mentors at that time, all the faculties, they used to say, no, like otherwise itself you're scoring really well. That's sufficient enough to qualify prelims. So you need not be worried. Prelim like all, I mean 6 to 8 questions, you can even skip and go. You will be getting the mark. Likewise, I went to the exam hall. I started opening the paper. First page full of pair questions. So normally we say that the tough questions or the tough part that comes in your first page, like first pages itself, then it's very easy. You just need to like turn the page. It would be very easy from next on. Similarly, like if you, many of you might be having history to be tough, ancient and art and culture would be very tough. So if that comes at in the first pages itself, just glance like turn the pages and start from polity and economy. It would be very easy. So I like, okay, first page itself is having my set is having first pages itself as the pair questions. From next page onwards, it would be easy ones. I turn the page. Second page also pair questions. Okay, understandable. Like 8 questions might be there with pair. It's okay, no problem. Third page pair. Fourth page pair. Fifth page pair. That entire question paper was full of pair questions. And it was at that point I know, okay, things is not under my hand. And I had preset because already Russia-Ukraine war was happening. And I had predicted, like I had preset myself that Russia or Ukraine's borders would be asked. And I had my code set for that, mnemonic set for that question. And similarly, and I was like sure that that question would be asked as a pair question, pair kind of question. So I was there only one pair question I would attend in the entire paper, and that would be this question, and that would be the last question I would attend after like filling up all my non answers. After that, finally, I would mark this. This was the preset mind I had gone with. So hilariously, after the first round, only one question I could attend, and that too was this Ukraine border question. That paper was like that kind of paper, so that your entire preset plans and everything would be disrupted just in a moment. But be ready for this flexibility, be ready to be changing these plans at any moment, so that you could accommodate the toughness of the paper. Along with that, uh, when you now the times would be again getting stressful, so just adopt a healthy lifestyle. Being a doctor also, I should be advocating you for that. Not just your mental fitness, your physical fitness is also something that you have to work upon. uh, do check your, like, not need to check, at least many of you might be facing vitamin D deficiency. Many of you might be facing hair fall and those kind of problems. Might be a good reason, might be vitamin deficiency. Also, your sedentary lifestyle, your cholesterol levels would be on a high level. So have a healthy lifestyle, eat healthy food, and do have some physical activity like walking or something that would aid in your like mental health as well. Because I used to, like, I though I am a movie buff, I totally restricted my movie watching during my preparation. But I was having a physical life, like I used to go and play badminton or like football weekly in kind of all possible times. That was a very great stress relief measure. So have something like that. Don't just fully focus into your studies. Studies are important, but UPSC is not just about studies. It's something beyond that. Especially when you're coming to the interview stage, also you realize you ought to have a good communicative skill. You ought to have good understanding skill. All these stress management skills, everything is getting tested at your various stages. Your writing skills are getting tested in your main stage. So your reading is also important. Your creative skills are tested in your essay paper and your ethics paper. So all this holistic importance is required, not just prelims. It's not constrained to prelims. So have that open mindset for the approach. I hope this session provided you at least some insights into how main, like, prelims works and how to plan your journey. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to take. Okay. 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 Revision strategy. Okay. So revisions is like weekly sessions. That is the thing that I had told. What you do is that once you have done your 3 or 4 tests, keep in between a revision week. Plan it such a way you have a revision week in between, so that first set of revision happens at that span, and your sectionals would be over by March mid or March end, so that you will be having a full length or the open test by your last week of March, and April entirely it would be like that. So now when you're coming to the full length, the themes as you have identified, keep it segregated for each full length. Like each full length in the sense, like the first and second full length, try to segregate the topics according to their point of importance. It shouldn't be like subject wise. Like for the first mock test or a full length test, you shouldn't say that I would study economics and polity and then I'll go and write. No, that shouldn't be the strategy, because once that economy and polity questions are over, then the entire paper would be Greek and Latin for you. Rather than that, out of all subjects, study the most prominent themes. If polity, you would be looking parliament and going. Economics, you would be looking monetary policy, inflation or taxation, and you would be going. Ancient medieval, that chronology, that 15 page chronology at least you would be looking and going. Modern, that important tabular columns you would be looking and going. So like this, try to create a curated list of most repeated themes which you have to cover for paper one, meaning first full length test or a mock test. Similarly for second mock test, so that by the third mock test you would be covering up all important themes. The benefit of this aspect is that while you're going to the exam hall, you would be knowing the details for about 60 to 70 questions. Since you're focusing on the major themes, remaining 30 questions you would be able to do from your, like, reading that other skills that we told, the question, the statement framing skills, or that some question would be totally Greek and Latin for everyone. Like it would be content oriented question which is totally out of context. So that even if you study everything also you would be able to answer. So that is okay. But otherwise you would be, rather than just focusing on 2 subjects like polity and economics, how many questions you would be able to attend? Maximum 30 questions, 15, 15, 30 questions. Rest 70 questions would be out of your hand. But if you follow that approach, you would be able to cover somewhat 60 to 70 questions for the first test itself. You would be sitting simply for those tests. So in that way, try to plan the revision strategy. And your test should be over by 2 weeks before the prelims. And the upcoming prelims is May 25, 24. Okay. So uh, May 10, your prelims must be, I mean, like a test, that extra test you will be taking should be closed up. Beyond May 10, you shouldn't be taking any test, series test or institute test. Post your May 10, you should be, if you're reading any question, it should be only PYQ. All the PYQs you have done, you have to go again and again through that just to familiarize yourself back again with the sentence framing of the UPSC examiner. Okay, so that you would be again getting into the realm of UPSC exams. So that when you go to the real exam hall, you will be in that sense itself. The problem with institute test is that in order to make it tough, the things would be made tough. Simply adding up few factual questions or in general, UPSC keeps extreme statements to be wrong. But institutes, what they would do, or the question setters, what they would do to take off their skills, they would keep those extreme statements, those which are right. So that pollutes your thinking. With that kind of thinking, that is actually, instead of helping you, it is actually causing trouble to you. When you're going to the real exam hall, now you would think whether I should think like in the extreme statement of UPSC examiner or through the practiced test series type. So that's the problem with that. So that's why the last 2 weeks, anyway, you should be only focused on your test series, I mean, exam, like the PYQ part, nothing else. So that way you could plan and also go through your maps, and especially also make a list of topics to be looked on the 2 days prior to the uh, real exam. That means 24 is the exam, means 23 and, I mean, 22 and 23, you should already have a list of topics. Some would be current affairs based, like the that Russia-Ukraine war, which I told. So that predicted things, that many predictions can be made, and there are like very evergreen topics like the species, tributaries of rivers, or the Ramsar sites. All these kind of factual things which you bound to get forget, bound to forget. These things should be revised. So if you don't have the list or a check mark to keep, you would forget on the before day. You would be remembering this on the waiting time for prelims. Oh no, I had kept for revising this particular topic. I forgot to revise. Then that would add up your mental pressure. So that's why you should have the prerequisite list to handle the topics. That also try to make it beforehand. And for those 2 days, read, keep it ticking. So once that full list is completed, you will feel again confident. And that's a normal thing. Once that first paper is done, don't get your paper like mobile phones and check for keys or anything. Just remain somewhere in some nook and corner of your center, or if you're going out also, stay away from the noise. Just go and get your second paper also done, and it's never over until the last bell. So never judge your performance based on because that happened to me in my second attempt. So second attempt, it's been like the already I have the rank, so it is like I was like, okay, if I'm qualifying this time, I would stay back and write. If I'm not qualifying, I will go to Missouri for foundation course. That was the mindset. So I was like very extrovert. Some unwanted chillness came in. So I wrote the paper and I got back to my room. I just randomly started checking the key. I mean checking. I searched the answers. So it was like I searched for 30 questions, and out of the 30 questions, 17 questions were wrong. So it was like remaining out of 70 questions, almost my total wrong should be within uh, 13 questions. Now remaining 70 questions, only 13 questions I can get wrong. And again, there was like immediate analysis of these few Delhi institutes, which had even predicted cutoff of 120 last year for 2024 prelims. Cutoff was immediate reaction, very easy paper, 120 would be the cutoff. And I am seeing this, and then I went for the CSAT paper. So I was like, already I lost it. I was in that mindset. But only after coming back and checking it again, in that remaining 70 questions, my only 8 questions had gone wrong. That's how I cleared. So these kind of variations can occur. So don't bet a thing. Don't go for all these kind of mishaps. So especially when you are in the, I went in because okay, I had like, even if it is there, I would go in for foundation course. That was my mindset. I didn't do these things for my first attempt, or since I learned my lesson that time, I didn't do it for my third attempt as well. So don't do these kind of things. Don't be so adventurous in prelims. So maintain that a status quo nature for that as well. That would be strategy for a real day exam strategy as well. I hope the questions are addressed. I hope this. Okay, current affairs, fine. So current affairs is a, okay, important part. Thanks for asking the question. So my first attempt, my current affairs, one like major attempt, my source has been newspaper. So a newspaper, I don't make notes for everything, but I make notes for the themes I believe that can be asked. Okay, so one theme is like any important events that India has been part of, like COP, Conference of Parties, or similar, like, or important announcement comes, any important scheme comes. So these kind of things I make notes. Other than that, I don't make much of notes. This is because my, like again, as I have analyzed, 2017 was the last year which bulk of current affairs oriented questions came. If you look about in 2017 paper, almost 84 questions have been based on current affairs. Post that, current affairs importance has shrunk in like anything. Static became the major player. Even without any of the current affairs, you could easily qualify exam with static. Until, I mean, not until, that is still continuing the trend, but there has been the re-emergence of current affairs from 24. 23 paper also didn't have much of the kind of current affairs, but 24 papers saw this typical magazine related current affairs. That showed a very minute search that was not much prominent, but 25 gave this trend that UPSC is going back to the previous level, that 2017 kind of level, such that there has been again more relevance on magazine kind of current affairs. So maybe if that is to stay, I would advise, okay, you can cover with any prominent magazine, you can cover one, just one. But coverage of magazine, it should be such that uh, you read, you highlight, and you revise. First of all, itself, when first reading itself, you're like realizing that you would be unable to revise. Don't spend your time. It's utter waste of time. Go and focus on your like static subject instead of that. If you're reading something, at least if you're not able to make notes, try to highlight, underline or highlight or anything, and next time you are just reading this highlighted part. You must read, because otherwise, if you're not revising, it is entirely underutilized, waste of time. And my source for my second, why I am not saying about the second and third attempt is that my or these preparatory phases, like maybe November to March, April, has been the time I have been preparing for interviews. Both my second attempt and third attempt. For the second attempt, I was undergoing the interview preparation of first attempt. Third attempt, I was undergoing the interview preparation of second attempt. So this is a phase that during interview we are like extensively reading newspaper. If you had seen the Majorana paper, I mean Majorana question, that content or the news came in my week of interview. That happened in March. So that was, and similarly there was this question on Paris AI Summit, which India and France jointly conducted. Similar question happened. This was also from my like 2 weeks before my interview. So these things, so while we prepare for interview, we write each and every note, like since this is being asked in the UPSC board, we prepare likewise. So that's why again that source has been fully newspaper, but that would not be feasible for you people since you are fully into prelims preparation. So, but interview preparation, you would be reading two or three newspapers. So that is feasible. But you people would not be possible for that. So you can refer up to any of the magazines for that. And when you are referring to magazines, keep a very special focus from November to March. Because 2025, 2024 and 2025 trend is for like showing that focus. Now I told you that the Majorana, it came in February, March. Paris IA Summit came in February, March. Most of the current affairs questions which has been asked in 2025 has happened between November to March. So typically what we say is that you have to have preparation from previous years. That 2026 means 2025 Jan onwards you have to prepare. If you have severe time crunch, at least from previous prelims to prepare. That is 2025 June onwards, and out of that give extra focus for November to or October to March, until March. March should also be covered. April, we believe question paper would have been set by April, so that's why you can maybe take a risk for that. But now October to March, be very thorough with the current affairs and give us. So when I say about current affairs, places and news is quite different. Places and news you have to deal it entirely different manner. From newspaper prominent places, but also conventional places also are important. Like Israel, Hamas has been in news for a while, but they haven't asked questions since the conflict arose. So that question is pending. If you look 2023 prelims paper, three options had Israel as the option. Three questions had Israel as the option. So this theme is also repeating. So that can recur. So these contemporary affairs also you have to look about, and current affairs of culture, art and culture's current affairs. That is also very important. That gets asked. That is also getting expanded. If you see the creative cities, the heritage parts, all these are getting expanded. So just have a look on that also. That UPSC is asking question. The Garba question came last year. So that culture, art and culture questions also get asked. Just have focus on those as well. Uh, uh, See, mains test series is definitely you have to enroll it, because mains test series is for the practice. I told you, like, the mechanical memory part which is working for mains. That is through the writing. You develop that mechanical memory. So you have to definitely enroll for a mains test series. Also, mains test series acts as your note supplementer. In addition to the notes you have prepared, the value addition part and all this stuff, you get it from your mains test series. And pre-preparation before prelims for mains is that I've tried to make notes, but the thing is that I was not much aware of this thing. Like now, what I told to you, what the note kind of setup, all this is thing that post prelims I trial and error, I made the error, then I improved. So these are all these things. These were like I experimented and found out. So I couldn't before prelims, and I was not having much of that guidance also. I never, the very first time I'm talking with an IAS officer has been for my mock interview. So that was my exposure. I didn't have any seniors or anyone in the service. So my kind of exposure was very limited. So my bulk of the notes came about after mains, after prelims, which I wouldn't suggest for you people, because even if you ask me to replicate that again, I couldn't be able to do it. It may be that kind of scenario, the situation that I was in at that time. Even I don't know how I made. And I used to, like, even my second attempt and third attempt, I used to wonder how did, because third attempt or second attempt, I'm not able to do that. It's at that time, maybe that first timers, that inquisitiveness or something might have triggered that. So that, and also there was one more month extra in that time, because that time prelims, mains used to happen at in September. Now there is just 2 months. Mains happen in August. So time span is also very much reduced. So hence, since we met, I told you the for not format, at least try to make it beforehand. It will turn out to be useful. And appearing for mains without notes is jumping out of flight without parachute. You're bound to be dead. So that's a problem. Um,
So there are some questions which students wants to ask specifically. So I'll ask one by one
okay.
their scenario exactly.
Okay.
So first thing is that they are giving the exam for the first time.
Yes.
Okay. So they are studying prelims and mains. Now they're with the question that should they keep mains aside and prepare for prelims and prepare mains part post prelims? This is one question. Now prepare for prelims strongly, they'll clear prelims, then they'll start mains post prelims. That is one thing. Second, some people want to balance prelims and mains, but when should they stop mains before prelims? So
No.
this is their question. These are two questions which they want to answer.
Okay. So I would, the first part, the completely stopping mains preparation and shifting to prelims at this stage, I wouldn't like recommend. It depends on your personal preparation level also. Some of you might have finished your optional and now might be waiting to shift. That is okay. But how much you have covered is the most significant part you have to focus upon. You have to be thorough with your ethics should be done about your mains parts. A good percentage of your mains should be covered up before you are shifting up. Otherwise, once you clear your prelims, you would realize the real gain happens in mains. Your prelims is just your entry ticket. You enter your uh, entering a film, maybe some Greek film without subtitles, and at the end of the time, you're saying like, why the hell did I enter this? So there is no use. That's the exact scenario that will be at the main stage also. After clearing the prelims part, you would be like, why did I clear? There's no use in that. So that's the problem if you prematurely shift from prelims to mains. You should have your mains also very well consolidated before you're shifting. The main reason is that you don't have time to prepare for mains post your prelims. Very concise. The 2 months it will go on like a very big like flash of light. Then absolutely no time because every week you would be writing test and every week itself you would be writing GS test as well as your optional test. So it's not like the mains test is not like your prelims test. Prelims test like 2 hours you're bubbling, you don't know the physical fatigue. Mains test writing 3 hours test is not a joke. It's really mentally and it's even more physically tiring to study or read much productively afterwards. So that day itself goes. So there is very limited time for you to prepare, make notes, then again write tests. Then you have to do daily answer writing to develop pace and content. So all these you have to stuff in those 2 months. So that's why we are saying get prepared beforehand itself when you have the facilities. So when you're starting, way you can do balancing out prelims and mains is that try to cover up the mains exclusive part initially itself. Now in this frame like internal security or social justice, governance, those kind of things do now itself, ethics, these kind of things. There is an overlap part, right? The geography, environment, these kind of overlapping between prelims and mains part. Keep it for December, Jan part towards, and by Feb first week or like second week, try to have full shift towards prelims because that is very much necessary. And if you're weaker, like even more weaker, even Jan end onwards, you can shift. That depends on your personal. You would be side by side when you're doing your prelims question, you would be knowing your MCQ knack that you are having. Are you able to solve questions? Are you able to get questions right? Is your mark on a lower end? So if your lower end of the marks or your questions means you are supposed to give more time. So that ideal span would be from January end up till Feb mid. By that time, you should have fully shifted towards your prelims part. So this is in the balancing also. This is how you can balance the same overlapping topics. You can keep for like the December and Jan part. And when you're splitting the time, split it for your optional also. Split it like uh, 40, 30, 30. 40 is your optional, 30 is your GS mains, 30 is your GS prelims. In that way, whatever how much you're studying, split it in that way. Because optional is always your guiding light. At the end of the UPSC journey, optional is your life partner. That optional can make your life better or miserable. So you cannot do away with the optional. So keep that with you for till whenever you're shifting till that point, keep your optional with you. And GS mains also similarly part by part. Is there none? So I hope this session provide you at least some guidelines into the prelims and preparatory part. So wishing you all the very best for your journey ahead and hoping to see you someday in service. Hope we would work together in service at one day. And uh, thank you to Shiva Sir as well. At like it asked me for 1 year, like whenever comfortable to come over here and meet you. So sir, thank you sir for having me over here, providing this opportunity. And sir has been also very like a very well wisher of my journey. So we got connected in the first attempt. I had refer to the notes I had prepared. And second attempt and third attempt, the content, the value addition part, and the test series and the detailed feedbacks. So I used to sit for like beyond 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock till that time span. So I know you are in the safe hands. So thank you to sir for his contributions in my journey as well. And all the best, everyone.
I
Thank you.
should say that it's all his credit, because even after getting a rank, you don't see people so sincere dedicating their complete time. If you remember, for this year, okay, leaving the past years, this year for this attempt, we used to do discussions at 12 a.m., 1 a.m., sit for the one-to-one sessions after post evaluation for the feedback. At 1 a.m. we used to sit for that. So that's your passion for, or that's the determination that you have towards the examination. And if I have to say, he's very sincere and hardworking. So you can see that he, being a movie buff, he told me that he has watched only one movie in the entire preparation span between prelims and only one movie. And maybe that movie also 2018, like there is a movie that has been released regarding the floods. So that too, after prelims he went and watched. So it is about how much willing or how much you want to achieve this dream or goal. Okay, so like what we have done, we have decided, see, there is too much of noise in the market. You see, open Telegram, this channel, that channel, X teacher, Y teacher, Z teacher. Like there are many people giving you many types of knowledge, and students are getting confused. What exactly do they have to do? What exactly is need? See, why we had interaction sessions with Habib sir previously, now with Vineeth sir. Habib sir, it's a very short notice, so he came all of a sudden, but he's a very well versed man. And even Vineeth be consistently clearing it year after year. They have told you certain things, that thought process for the examination, right? How you have to think for the exam. How do you develop this? By observing the previous year questions. So what we have done, first focusing on that part, prelims conditioning. We call it prelims conditioning. So you have to train your mind accordingly, right? You have to train your mind. So when you see the last 40 years of papers, you will observe certain things. How the paper, UPSC has evolved, not the paper, how UPSC itself has evolved over a period of time. So it's like you're talking to UPSC and you're seeing how it has changed the way it talks or way it speaks. So you observe a question culture, how it has been changing over a period of time. What is the ultimate core primary source for clearing prelims? I'll be making you interact with one more topper, Rishabh Jain, who cleared 5 IFOS prelims with general category. 5 IFOS prelims. He cleared forest twice. He's a forest officer now, currently posted in Chhattisgarh. I'll make you people interact with him as well. So what is the strategy there? We all people have been in preparation, and what is our core focus? We weren't disturbed by the noise that we had. What is our focus? Is the core what exam is demanding. First, you understand. So to understand, I wanted you people to listen to these toppers, what everybody is doing. So you need to focus and condition yourself in the direction of UPSC. That every question you are reading, okay, there is a trap within it, there is a hint within it, and there is a suggestion that tomorrow we may ask a question around it. So you need to understand each and every statement. Like he has shown you the bank's example as a question, that from one statement you could have answered this year question. Like this, if you can properly condition yourself on the lines of UPSC, you will be easily able to be in that mode of UPSC by January. So what we have done, we have created 40 years of PYQs themes, like you were asked to identify, but we have identified and we have made those themes. Actually, we wanted it to start from November 1st itself, but I was just waiting for you to listen to these people so that you understand the gravity of the issue, right? You understand how important is it. So for every topic, last 40 years, for each topic, daily 1 to 2 topics, 40 years of PYQs will be provided to you in question format. Okay. and in the evening you are provided with the solutions of it. So you first try to solve it from your basic knowledge what you have done so far, and then do the reverse engineering. Then you will be understanding the application oriented. See, by doing this, every topic by January 10th or 15th, you will finish all your PYQs of last 40 years in a detailed manner, and you will get to know what you should not study after January 10th. Now, if you take the book directly, what will happen? You'll try to study all the unnecessary things that are there, and you'll try to pick up all the unnecessary material that is there in the market, right? So just do the reverse engineering. From here itself, you will cover 80+% of your static portion. And you already know UPSC will ask the same things again, but surrounding it. So in the options, you have been provided with the extra information so that that extra effort is taken by us and not by you people. This is first component, that you condition yourself in the direction of UPSC and do what is needed. And I observed one more thing with respect to students, that they always look for the shortcut. Always. They want some material which they can finish in 1 hour or 2 hours and they get clear the examination. Do you think UPSC is trying to find such people? It is trying to find those people who are smart enough to understand what it is doing. UPSC will change with every year. It is going to change this year also. It will come up with some new thing. You should be prepared for that new thing. You can't prepare yourself within a day, within a week, or within a month. That is a consistent 5 to 6 months of training that you have to give to your mind for over a period of time. So here we cannot go for shortcuts. We have to go for standard things like NCRT is what is said, right? NCRTs and the standard books. See, don't go for summaries. This is my sincere suggestion, because if you are making some, who is making summary? Somebody like you who gave mains, or somebody who gave interview is sitting there and making the summary. Like, do you think that the person is doing it with all 100% attention and focus? We can't guarantee that. So because of somebody's mistake, you can't forego your choice of clearing the prelims, right? So what we can rely upon? We can rely upon the standard things such as NCRTs and the standard textbooks, whatever that is there in the UPSC's domain, right? We will observe that which book is being mostly referred by UPSC and from where the highest chances of questions are coming. These we'll look at. So these are the static parts. So now what happens, with these books, when you are asked to read, most of the times students feel bored. Okay, they'll sit with the book. They're not focused on the right area. Suppose there is one page. Actually, see, he has shown that this is the area from where that Hundi question has been asked, right? But we might be focusing on this entire area and leave out this, which is actually important. So you're reading the book, but you're absent with respect to your focus in certain areas. You'll only read what you like, and you'll skip what you don't, and you'll miss out some of the areas of the pages also. So observing this issue, what we have decided is, we have decided to help you identify. So what we'll do, we'll make you sit with the book, the standard book. We are not going to give you any material which is shortcut. We'll help you with the extra things, like Buddhism and Jainism. It doesn't come from one single book. So there are multiple books which have to be referred. So we'll refer all those books and we'll give you some short material. Or Vijayanagara Kingdom. So Upinder Singh is generally one of the major important books that is referred. So from there we'll get you the information. But what is most important here is that not deviating from the actual standard things which any topper follows. Okay, so here we'll make you sit with the book and we'll tell you in that particular page what questions have been asked, which is the analytical thing, which is the factual thing. We'll make you highlight then and there along with us. So it's like read with us. So you'll be sharp focused and you are focusing on the right areas, getting to know where you have to focus, and within 4 hours you will finish most of the topics. Okay, and you'll go and revise for another 2 hours, same thing, the standard book itself, and you'll attempt the PYQs that you have done again. So standard thing is done. Your main important core areas which you have to revise is highlighted, and you have already revised it, and you are practicing PYQs. You will be taking the test. So there are four components within prelims. First is you have to condition yourself and do PYQs in such a way that tomorrow any question which is based on PYQ repeats. There is no chance of committing wrong. That's how you have to prepare for the PYQs. So if you have to do that, you have to analyze each and every statement that is given in the question. So for that, we have done the job and we have given it. So we have already uploaded most of the things. So you can contact, we'll provide you. Next thing is, I told you that this is a book a week. Second component, first is PYQs. Second is standard books. Standard books, completely standard. No shortcut, no extra material, no gimmicks. Completely proper standard things, which we will make you revise at least 4 to 5 times by the time of the examination. Revising 5 times is very crucial. Okay, not reading more number of things, rather revising little number of things more number of times matters in this UPSC examination. So the standard resources are covered, and then we have seen that deviating from the UPSC line of questions in the test series is one of the common trend that we generally notice. So you need a test series which is aligned with UPSC, not trying to experiment their own intelligence in the test paper. Rather, if some current affair based questions are possible, they can ask, but not experimenting their knowledge and changing the way UPSC is asking. You should not change it, because you should accustom the students to the style of UPSC. That is what is needed. So such a test series is needed. So you have the test component as well. And then coming to current affairs. See, current affairs have become very didactic. Okay. So what people do is that they bring every new thing to you in some or the other form. They bring the new thing. So now what happens? Every time you see some new thing, you always have that FOMO that you are missing out. This FOMO is one of the major reasons which will make you distract from the original path. So now what you need to focus is Hindu, Indian Express, PIB. These three things, you can't even cover these as well. Not even Hindu completely, because it's not possible for anybody. So daily having a overview of the newspaper is important, and then we have made, see, Vineeth has shown you the tabular format, right? So by using the tabular format, how quickly you could revise that or read it, it took not more than a minute to go through it, right? So what we have done for the current affairs also, we have made the current affair magazine, which is of tabular format. You can revise one topic within a minute, and you have been provided with authentic link from where this topic has been taken, whether it's taken from Down to Earth, whether it's taken from Science.organization, or whether it's taken from Hindu or Indian Express. Why is it taken? You will have that backdrop, and then it is put in a tabular format. Within 1 minute you can read it. And first we want you to do it, and then we will have current affairs sessions where all the important topics again will be revised twice or thrice, so that you have handmade notes of current affairs. See, not the PDFs. You can never revise the PDF magazines anytime. Those are all combined, it will come to some 1200 1300 pages. 1200 1300 pages, is it possible to revise for any person? Impossible. So what we'll do during the current affairs sessions, we'll make you do your handwritten notes. We'll tell you what exactly has to be focused. See, you will be knowing everything, but most important things you'll be making the notes, and you'll be revising that handwritten notes. So by February, you'll be having your current affair handwritten notes and standard resource revise, completion of PYQs. You'll be taking the test regularly. So these four components, if they have been achieved, then you are good to go by February end. So you have March, April, and May. That time you can use to revise multiple times the same thing based on your strengths and weakness, and that you can identify and work upon in your full length tests that are going to happen post February. So these are the things that you have to focus. Don't deviate. See, it's X, Y, Z coaching. It doesn't matter. What you need is the right approach to the examination. Okay, so what you need is the clear understanding of PYQs. Okay, because identifying the right theme is important, and on that theme you have a deep understanding of the subject, and you apply these again by practicing. So your PYQs covered for 40 years, standard books covered, and you are revising your standard books 4 to 5 times, and current affairs for 4 to 5 times. You are doing the tests again, and you are doing your PYQs more than twice. I don't think more than this is necessary for any student to deal with prelims. Okay, and this can be done by giving a little amount of time. Okay, and see, we wanted to ensure that all our Anthro students clear their prelims this time. Okay, not just Anthro students, if anybody who approaches us, we want to ensure that, and we want to keep it very affordable, very nominal, and this, the core intention is that you clear the examination and get to know what exactly is needed for the examination. I was just waiting for this, because previously we thought of November 1st, but because Vineeth is coming on 7th, we moved it to November 10th. So this is the Lakshya program, where it has 4 components. We don't deviate from the actual thing that needs to be done for UPSC. We don't give you any shortcut material, or we won't provide you any PDFs. Only some simplification will be done. Suppose, like he has said, revolts, where you have to have a tabular format, tabular notes. Those kind of things we'll be doing it for you. But we won't give you some material by bringing from some XYZ textbooks and ask you to do it as extra. From the existing one, we are going to simplify. So like all the maps we'll give you together, all the boxes that are there in the NCRTs will be providing you as a PDF, so that you focus more on those things. Okay, so the intention here is to focus on what is the right thing to do for the examination. Don't get disturbed by the noise. Despite any amount of competition, see, we were new people when we were writing the exam. We didn't know anything. There were many toppers, and when we listened to all of them, we were little scared as. But we consistently cleared prelims again and again. The only reason is that we focused on these core things. See, if I have to tell, these are the 2 things which we emphasize more on. And even test series component, I would say that it is just to ensure that for 2 hours you are in that mode of application of knowledge, more than learning it from the test series. So maybe some topics to check whether the conceptual you are right or wrong. It's for that. It's not to test whether like what is going to happen on the final examination. We are not going to replica, or we are not going to give you the replica. Rather, we are going to help you that you have learned some standard sources, you have learned some topic, whether you are applying it or not. Sometimes you might be knowing the topic, but on the day of the test you might not be performing it. You'll get to know that under pressure some things are going wrong. So you ensure that in the next situation of the next test you don't commit such mistakes. So avoiding what kind of mistakes are possible, those things you can learn from the test series. And next, identify the weak topics. See, we have done important themes. You know that there are 70, 80, 90 important themes overall. And now if you are committing the same mistake from those themes, then that means you have to be very careful, because this is a repeated theme of PYQ and you are committing that mistake again. So that you should not commit. So that you will be learning from the test series. But test series is not to test what level of intelligence you have, or whether you will be clearing the exam or not, and to rank you and compare with others. This is not for your comparison, but just for self analysis. Like he has said, how better you are from yesterday, and how better you can become tomorrow. That is the only target. Don't compare with others. Even if you are at any stage, still you are in a good position to clear this examination. So this is what we'd like to convey in this program, Lakshya. So if you want to know more details about it, you can reach out on this number. For all our Anthro students, it's provided at no cost other than the handling charges, whatever it would take. Okay, so for Anthro students, it's there. And for others, if you are interested, you can connect to us. Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope this has helped you. Thank you.